welcome to this week's episode of Not D&D, brought to you by Eon World. I'm the host, Jessica, and this week we're talking about Against the Darkmaster with a team from Open Ended Games. Thank you so much for joining us. We just lost one, but we still have one person here. Yeah, this is the thing about doing it. Well, would you like to introduce yourself and what you do at Open Ended Games?
Yes, my name is Nicola. I am so it's Open Ended Games is a small company. It's like 4 of us, and I run the business sort of, and do the layout and contribute to the rules and play testing, mainly running the business and putting the layout together and produce the books.
Fantastic, great. And we have Max back as well. Max, welcome back.
Yeah.
Would you like to introduce yourself and what you do at Open Ended Games?
Yeah, I'm the lead game designer, so I write most of the rules and many of the adventures that we publish, and just with Nick and the other members of the team help, of course. But that's basically I do the rule-wise part of things. That's my main thing.
Fantastic. And as I mentioned, we'll be talking again about Against the Darkmaster. If you're watching live, hello, thank you for joining us. Please do feel free to jump in the chat and ask any questions and get involved. And if you're listening to the podcast, anything we're talking about, we'll have links in the show notes for you to click through and listen to as well. But before we talk about the game, I'd like to talk about the two of you. So the question I always ask people when they first come on is, about your background with games. So I ask what's your background with games? What was the first role-playing game that you remember playing?
Well, since Max is older than me, I'm gonna let him go first.
Okay, Max.
Very kind, reminding people my age. Well, the first role-playing game that I played, that I think my RPG background actually starts with not with an RPG, but with the Hero Quest, the old board game.
Yeah, mine too.
And those choose your own path books like Lone Wolf and that sort of stuff. They were my introduction to this world back in elementary school. And then I played this. Well, my father bought me this game. Was one of the first Italian role-playing games called Catacumbas, and it was published early here in Italy. And I got hooked, basically, because I could create all my, my adventures that I up till then I could only read in those books. And after that, I think it was a black box of Dungeons and Dragons. So the one with the great red dragon on the cover. So that was my start, basically.
Okay. And what about you as well? Sorry.
No worries. For me, was my older brother. He's 4 years older than me. He started playing in middle school, and I was very interested in what he was doing, despite him locking the door and not letting me in.
Classic older brother, yeah.
Siblings. And so eventually he passed me down the big black box of Dungeons and Dragons, the one with the big dragon on the front, and the Mind Salt starting adventure inside. And it eventually picked up from there. He bought all the games, and he eventually gave it to me, and I started from there, and then I transitioned to D&D Advanced 2nd edition, the 3 books, and then moved to 3.5, 3 and 3.5 when the hobby was getting a little less momentum that it has now. At the time, I was invited to play in a party with our lead artist in the project, Tommaso, and he was playing Rolemaster. And he brought me in the Darkmaster, and that's when I learned the D100 kind of system playing with him. So,
yeah. And we met, me and Nicola, we met through Tommaso. a mutual friend, and I met Tommaso through Rollmaster as well. So we met playing and arguing online on which edition was better and things like that, and usual stuff.
Yes.
And then we things brought thing basically, and we ended up first playing together, and then we decided to create our own system, basically our own game.
Great. Well, that's a great segue to talk about it. So let's talk about Against the Darkmaster. So I think you mentioned before it is a D100 system, and is it fair to say quite heavily inspired, or like a bit of a love letter to Middle Earth role playing game? Is that fair?
Yes. We all members of Open Ended Games were huge fan of Middle Earth role playing. And in fact, that's also one of the first game I played back because back in the days it was huge. It was almost as big as DnD, as far as I remember. And we really loved that. We really loved the adventures we had, and some of this adventure later went on when we changed the system and maybe ported them in Rollmaster, or some even in Dungeons and Dragons, and we tried a lot of different things. And so when we met again with Tom and then Nicola, we just thought that we need to do something in the vein, similar to the Middle Earth, and that's where the idea of Against the Darkmaster was born, basically. So I think the MERP, the Middle Earth role playing game, is basically, but our game is basically a huge love letter to that game and all those years we spent playing it. So
wonderful.
yeah.
So let's talk about the setting then in Against the Darkmaster, because like you say, it looks like there's some Tolkien references and things like that, but it is its own kind of world and in environment. So Nicola, could you talk a little bit about how that works?
So of course the setting. So the setting is implied. We never went into providing like setting guidelines, but like heavy guidelines, but more in the loose aspect of whatever Lord of the Rings or similar heroic novels and high fantasy adventure might bring with it. We have in the beginning of the book a source of inspiration. So there's Wheel of Time, Lord of the Rings, Broken Sword. There's many sources of inspiration, and we try to create a game that is not only inspired, as Max explained, from MERP, but is also provides the tool to the players and the GM to create heroes that go into these long campaigns, travels, and danger, and they are heroes. So they have they start with a little bit of a notch above the rest of the common population. So we wanted to immediately transmit this sort of feeling that when you start even level 1, you're capable of great things, as these novels and books taught us and inspire us into.
Perfect. And sorry, I was just going to ask though, because I think that the high adventure and the heroic element came out, but what really jumped out to me is when you messaged me about it, was the heavy metal combat element. So where does the dose of heavy metal mix into all this?
Well, it goes back to the days when we played MERP and the other games, because it's particularly in high school. We were huge metal fans, and so we always listen music during the games or before or after, and there are several power metal bands that are fantasy inspired, like Guardian or Iron Maiden. There are lots of themes, recurring themes that came that are basically merged into the same themes we touch in the game, and so we wanted to bring this back. And since we back when we played, we were very inspired by these songs and these bands, and we thought, what if we tried to make them part of a game, to make them in a way uh, really come into play. And so we tried uh, to bring these memories back and bring it in the game design itself, not to take some of the elements that inspired our games back then and bring them into our system.
Mm-hmm.
And so the metal combat is obviously part of that, because criticals are always fun when you know
Yeah.
chop the heads of
Yeah.
the of your enemies. Very metal. It's also extremely fun, or at least this if it happens to your enemies. It's a
Yeah.
bit different when it's happened to you.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the only way metal sneaks into the game. You know, there are other fun elements that can from names of spells to the way you can build part of your character on your favorite songs and give him or her some passion that are based on your favorite album or song. So yeah, you know, you can say that I will never surrender to you, Dark Lord, because I have my heart of steel, and that's that comes into the game. And it's very cheesy, like most power metal songs are, but you know, it works well, and it
Yeah.
gave this soul atmosphere to this to the setting and the game. Helps create a very particular mix.
So a
Amazing.
funny anecdote is that I am not a fan of metal. Not that I don't
Oh,
like
right.
it. But I'm not a connoisseur or a listener to metal. I'm more like rock
An
pop.
expert, maybe. Yeah.
So I've always like being surrounded by metalheads and
Mhm.
being surrounded by Tom and Max, always trying to bring me into
Yeah.
the genre.
Okay. Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, because
So my
you're like the youngest of the
yes,
so we're
so like
trying
my
to
character always had maybe pop lines when it comes, maybe I don't know.
Why not? Yeah, like I guess if
Because
you
I don't
if
know.
you want to put some
I'm
Taylor
Katy
Swift
Perry.
in
No, I'm
there,
kidding. I'm not listening to Katy Perry. But
love that. Have a bard called Taylor the Swift and run with it. I guess.
yes, no,
Perfect.
not that kind of pop. But okay.
I mean, whatever you like, whatever you're into. I'm not here. We're not here to
Yeah.
judge. It's all good. Okay, great. And I noticed on your website as well, you do have a little playlist. So I'll just link in the show notes down here. So if you go to vsdarkmaster.com, there's information about the game there, but there's also like a playlist with information on. So if you are new to metal and want to get a vibe for the kind of music feel for that, there's a playlist on there that will link you, which is really cool to see. So going back to the system a little bit, I've been talking a bit as if people are familiar with Middle Earth role-playing game, but if people haven't tried MERP before, could you give an overview of what the core resolution mechanic of the game is?
Yeah, well, it's actually the core of the system is pretty simple. You roll the 100 and add your bonus. Usually it's your skill bonus. So if you're swinging your sword, you'll be adding your blade skill, and that's the higher you want to roll high, basically. In normally a result of 100 is a success. So you just roll. You just have to roll 100 or more to succeed. And there are you can roll a partial success, so you can do what you wanted to do, but have some little complication or have to pay some price for that. And of course, you can fail, critically fail, or critical succeed. So there are some little variation on that. But the core of the game is just you roll your d100 and roll high. And if you were, as our brand name suggests, since we are open at the games, there's this little bit that our most of the rolls you'll make in the game are we call them open-handed, which means that if you roll from 96 to 100, you get to keep the roll you made and roll again and add them together. So you can roll
on the dice, 96
on the dice. So you can get very high result, obviously. But on the other hand, if you roll very low, if you roll from 5 to 1, you do the same, but subtracting the second result. So there's a bit, there's a tiny chance the dice will explode, basically, and lead to very extreme result.
Yeah. So it feels like a big swing, kind of go big, go home sort of kind of system where you can do really impressive, grandiose kind of stuff that can expand in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that matches the style of the combat that makes it quite fun, like you say, quite like metal and like fantasy and things like that. But one thing that I was also really pleased to see is there's quite a narrative element in this game. There's lots of encouragement in the system for you to role play your character. So could you talk about the passions and drive system a little bit?
So when designing the game, Max came probably got inspiration and came out with this 3 passion they call, which are one sentence. The sort of has to describe an aspect of your character. So you have motivation, nature, and allegiance. So motivation is what motivates your character in his endurance and endeavor that he's taking at the moment adventures. Nature, it's something that it's more inside of you, something that define your personality and the way you react to things often. And allegiance is something that it's around you, maybe allegiance to another character in your party, or maybe to a king or your mentor or father or whatever. And it's just one sentence. That's why that was very fitting for the heavy metal and metal aspect, because you can choose the title of an album to decide your nature. And we actually listed few songs. They know them, or album titles, and they list them. So you can help you choose your nature or any other passion, and those two should play often because and also they're a tool for the GM to sort of direct the story and try to involve the players more and to create together a narrative that it's fitting for all the players and their passion and motivation. And since it's just a sentence, it's not only very concise, but it gives also room to explore and to interpret that sentence. And
just to be clear, just to clarify what you don't have to use metal songs or
no, you don't.
But you can just use whatever you want. You can just say,
you can come up with
I'll serve my king, and that's perfectly fine. So even if you're not a metalhead, you can still play the game. So.
I figured. Yeah.
And also that comes in play whenever you need to gain drive points, which is this is not the only way to gain them, but drive points are basically a reroll or with a bonus, or to make some effect in the game in case you roll you roll poorly, or you want to give yourself some advantage before entering a specific scene. And these drive points, as there's we strongly suggest to give them easily to the GM. Not easily, but be generous,
Yeah.
and also to spend them generously, because they also, whenever you spend them, you gain points on your something called heroic path, which is like a side rail from the level up, which help you increase certain things that would not be able to increase, which are just normal leveling up. So
Yeah.
it's a way to give more power to your hero by doing great endeavors, and putting yourself on the line, and fight, and believe in your motivation and passions when you play the game.
So basically, the players using the passions can uh, help the GM bring the narrative to what they actually want to see at the table. No? So if you're like I was saying before, if you have your allegiance to the king, you're basically telling the GM that this is important to you, so you want to see your allegiance to the king tested in game, probably, or want to see the king having some kind of trouble, so you can run and help him and gain drive and grow as a character, basically. And this the players and the GM create stories and a compelling narrative for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, speaking about the story and the narrative, the game is called Against the Darkmaster. So can we talk a little bit about the role of the Darkmaster in the game, what it is? Because I know there's a whole section on the rulebook about creating your own and things. So if you could introduce the Darkmaster to us, please.
The Darkmaster is the name we gave to this Sauron-like entity. It's not a specific creature or entity. It's basically a Dark Lord, a generic Dark Lord that you can define, and there are rules in the book to do so. For your own setting, when you create your own setting, or if you decide to use, you decide to play Middle Earth or in the world of the Wheel of Time or whatever you want, you can create your own Darkmaster. And this is a sort of primordial evil that want to destroy everything that's good. It's evil with a capital E, so you can't really, it's not just some bandits. It's the Lord of Darkness.
Yes, yeah. The big bad, yeah.
The big bad, yeah, and is you cannot directly fight him or her because you just it's just too powerful for mortals. So you'll have to go on a happy quest to find their weakness and use against them, and so defeat the armies of evil in a grand epic quest, which is the main focus of the game. And of course, you can also run smaller adventures with a smaller scope. But the Darkmaster will always loom in the background because the rules make so that the influence of the Darkmaster will impact on the game, whereas some according to its nature. So, for example, if let's say your Darkmaster is an entity that wants to bring the world under an eternal ice. You'll feel it in the game because there will be less resources to find, and the ice will be growing in the world setting as you move around. So even if you're not directly fighting against the Darkmaster, you will feel the presence of this entity.
Yeah, nice. And I think when we're talking about fantasy, where magic is always the thing that comes up, because playing a magic user is a cool, fun thing to do. I think a lot of people are familiar with kind of Dungeons and Dragons and how magic works in that. But how does magic work in Against the Darkmaster?
We went for a more let's say, low key magic. So there are offensive spells, but also there's a lot of utility spells. And so speaking of Darkmaster, spells is one of the way for the players to randomly bring in the Darkmaster. We don't want it for
Oh
when
no.
you do a spell casting roll. So
Mhm.
to decide whether your spell is going to be successful or not, if you roll a double on the dice, there is then a second. There's a table that you have to roll on to see, because you at that point you
Okay.
attracted the attention of the Darkmaster. So and
Right.
then the GM, according to specific situation that gives bonuses and penalty to the roll, is going to roll in secret to see what is this going to happen. So maybe a lieutenant spots you, or maybe the Darkmaster is looming over you and feels your presence only. But there is always to bring always a little bit of atmosphere that the Darkmaster is there and can, magic, since magic is by nature something out of this world. When used, it can bring the entity closer to you. And the way we organize magic is you have a specific spell list, the group 10 thematic spells. So we call it spell lores, and you have a weave of spells, and they're very thematic. So if you pick, for example, healing list, you're going to have a lot of spells that are going to have to do with healing, or bring health back to characters.
Yeah, and as you grow more experienced in a particular spell lore, the power of the spells will grow. So, for example, in healing, we will start by you can at the beginning you can just heal small cats, and then as you grow in power, you learn I don't know, I have to reattach lost limbs or
Wow.
stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yes, and magic it gets powerful, but has to grow with the character. And each spell can be some spell can be made even more powerful when you move on into the game by increasing its power, maybe increasing the target that you want, and of course that costs magic points, which is the mana currency that you have to cast.
Yeah, yeah, that's probably one of the biggest differences from Dungeons and Dragons, is that you don't memorize your spells.
Yeah.
You always have access to all of them, and you just have a limited pool of magic points, as Nick said, which allows you to cast whatever you want at the moment, basically.
And attack spell. So the offensive spells and area spells, they also have their critical roll tables. So
Okay.
when you cast a bolt of some sort, you hit your target, or your target and you hit your target, then there is a critical table, so you can have a chance to really hurt whoever you're attacking.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's probably that we skipped on when talking about combat, but yeah, and
Yes.
yeah, one of the main
Yeah,
tricks of the
we skipped
games
the
is
most
that
important part.
is that we get this critical hits table that we are very graphical and very
Yeah.
metal, as we said, and we have very serious effects. So the combat and event for spellcasting, as Nick said, isn't just a matter of reducing your hit points to zero, and so every hit can be very serious. Every just one blow can incapacitate you or even kill you outright, you or your enemy, obviously. And so, yeah, heavy metal in combat and the fights are something the heroes must really think through before engaging. Even though the heroes have drive points that they can, as we said before, through their passions that they will help them. So they are a little bit shielded in a way from the worst result, while obviously the servants of the Darkmaster won't have this kind of protection because they are the bad guys. And so they deserve all the criticals they get, basically. And that was just a small parenthesis.
Yeah, because I mean, talking about spellcasting, obviously that is an option, but then there'll be types of characters that aren't spellcasting ones that will be more kind of like melee fighters. I mean, what sort of character options are there? Because I think character customization was something that was important to you when making the game. So what options are there?
Well, when you build your character, you basically start by selecting, by generating your stats, which are 6 pretty standard stats, and then you'll chase your kin, which will say if you are like a human or an elf or which kind of elf, because obviously being inspired by Tolkien, we have different kinds of elves, and then it could be a dwarf, a halfling. There are several kins from which to choose. And then after that, you're going to choose your culture. Your culture is basically your upbringing. So you could be, I don't know, an elf that lives in the forest will be slightly different from an elf that lives by the sea, or which is from a human which has grown in a big city. This will bring some difference to the table. And then there are your vocation. It is similar to the class in Dungeons and Dragons. There are basically 5 vocations, six if you 5 plus 1 optional vocation basically. So it's a warrior, the warrior, the wizard. These are pretty simple. The enemies is a sort of healer, druid kind of type of spellcaster. And there's the champion, which is a sort of paladin or ranger, and the doubler, which is kind of a sort of magical rogue or a bard. That depends on how you build it. And the optional class is the sage, which is mainly used if you want a low magic game without the magical vocation.
Okay, so you would you would have the sage instead of a wizard, or
the rogue, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So 6 or 7, 6, 7, yeah. That's it.
And he's the lead designer.
Yeah, I'm the lead designer. Yeah. I know it's your favorite vocation, bro.
I know. You
always remember, but yeah.
Okay, so if you were running a game, you could decide your setting and if you wanted a high or a low magic, and have some options on or off the table for your characters to kind of support that world. Is that kind of the idea with the option?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Sure. That's something that the group will need to discuss before starting the game. We want to play in this setting, so maybe in the setting there are no elves, or there's or I don't know, or dwarves come from the sea or something like that. You just set up a few option before starting.
Absolutely.
And lastly, you also sorry about that. Lastly, you'll also need to choose some backgrounds, which are some sort of like talents or feats from Dungeons and Dragons that give little boons to your character, but also define them a little bit. So maybe you are well traveled, so you'll get a little bonus to your wandering skill, but you can also gain some very specific ability. So if you are very well traveled, if I remember well, you can just decide out of nowhere that while you're traveling the wilderness, you know that there's a particular safe haven, a very safe spot nearby, because you did it in that way, and you mark it on the map, and that's your creation, and you add that to the game. So even these little backgrounds add some narrative, to the game.
Yeah. Okay, great. So it sounds like the GM has like real flexibility with creating the world, like you say, before the game decide if it's like high or low magic, and that has flexibility in character creation and creating the Darkmaster and all those things. What kind of guidance or advice would you give to somebody running a game of Against the Darkmaster for the first time? Maybe they've kind of run D&D before and they're moving to try out this. What sort of advice or guidance would you give them?
In terms of creating a setting, of course, always have a session 0 where you get inspiration from all your player at the table and to sort of line out the setting and where your player wants to be and what could be the main storyline and what are the things they follow. In terms of rules and mechanics, probably I would tell them that this is a D100 unified system, so you use just one set of die to do all the rolls. Get familiar with the open-ended concept, which is very simple. 96 and up, you add to your roll. 5 and below, you subtract. And then you have the system is very very simple because you roll your D100 and then you add whatever bonus you have to that. You compare it to whatever you want to do, whether it's a skill. So we provide a 6 difficulty roll, standard, hard, very hard, and that changes the penalty that you would have to that, and establish how hard that the challenge could be. So the D100 roll plus the bonus is always compared to something, whether it's compared to type of difficulty you want to do and beat. To be successful to any skill roll, it's 100 and up. And we included something that is a partial success, which is between 75 and 100. You succeed in what you want to do, but there is a complication, and that always creates a lot of fun situation.
Yeah.
Like you lose a piece of equipment, or you succeeded, but you find yourself in a complicated situation. So I would say that start considering that the 100 plus your bonus compared to something. The defense, if when you're using combat, a spellcasting roll table when you cast. So we have a very comprehensive booklet that comes with it that kind of helps. And these charts are also in the appendix of the book, so that it's gonna once you get familiar with the rules, that's where you can go and see with the glance what you're looking for, and also expect a game with tables. There's no way around it. We have tables. They are part of the game. However, one thing I can suggest to a D&D player is that don't get scared by it, because it's the learning curve is not too steep. Once you get used to them, I recently introduced a new player on my table. He was coming from D&D, and he only played D&D in his life, and he found it very easy to adjust once you play a little bit, like even like 3 session maybe to get used to it. Combat can be very different in the beginning. Coming for D&D, we don't have initiative rolls. We have a set of whatever you want to. So when you want to do a range attack, it happens a specific phase, melee phase. Happen in a specific phase, and that can be a little bit confusing in the beginning. However, as you move on and get a little bit more familiar, combat can become very fast, satisfying, because you're not gonna end up just to have roll hit subtract, roll, hit, subtract. It's more like roll, hit, roll the critical roll. What is going to happen? You can even take down a villain with a perfect roll, since we have open-ended roll. So you have a chance to do outstanding success and take down the villain, which had happened so many times in my campaigns,
Yeah.
with one error to the head, and that is always always welcome with a lot of cheer at the table by the players when they manage to, take down someone that you prepare for long in one shot. But it gives a lot of satisfaction to play and to use the critical table in the combat and to create a narrative together. And probably I would close my piece in convincing someone to come and
Yeah.
play, saying that you at the table are the storytellers, and we provide tools to tell this story and to tell a compelling story, and you should use them all. And you're the main character of it, so have fun.
Yeah, I think
Beautiful.
that's the most important bit. I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most important thing is this is a game. We all have to have fun, and we just agent in the game, and we have to make the best of it.
Amazing. So, if anyone's listening to this and is thinking about giving it a try, where's the best place for them to go online to try it out?
We have Max is keeping up with a very good, wonderful community that we have on Discord. So probably I would
Yes.
suggest the first place to come is the Discord server. We have a very active community, a wonderful community, I have to say. And it's keep growing and growing, and it's very warm and welcoming. So we have, if you have any questions on the rules, or if you're looking for games, that's the place to start. People are very responsive there. We do have, our website where people can purchase the physical copy of the book. Right now we're shipping only in US, but we're trying to figure it out a way to reach
Everyone else.
Yeah.
we have
Yeah. Yeah.
we have we are trying, we're actively trying to do that. It's been quite a challenge.
Yeah.
but we are trying. If somebody comes from outside United States and they really want to buy our book, indie press revolution, IPR, they do have stocks, and they do sell physical single copies all over the world, pretty much probably all over the world. And but the shipping costs are high, which is our same problem now to figure out how to ship it outside the US. And also we have our Instagram and Facebook page. People can come and drop a message there if they want. But I would say that and the digital store, of course, Drive to RPG, which what we have, Max, on Drive to RPG right now, discount, right?
Yeah. We are. Yeah, the link you see right below. It's a small discount on our core rules on PDF. You can find all our other products there on digital form, mostly. And some of them are also in print on demand, and we're trying to bring more stuff to all the stuff we can to print on demand, because that's partially solved the problem of shipping all around the world.
And we also, and I'm gonna finish with saying, yes, Discord is the best play, but also we have the best place, but also we just started a month ago, not even 2 weeks ago, our Patreon. So people are welcome to come to the Patreon, and they can find extra material, and they can get a closer point of contact with us if they need anything. We're very responsive in all these channels. So again, Discord is the best place, and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Fab. We'll tell people to go have a look there. Yeah, and as mentioned, there is a great discount on Drive Through RPG. The link there. So if you're listening to Not D&D, in the show notes, there's a discounted rate. I think it's like half price off the usual Drive Through RPG price. So if you use this specific code that's in the chat or in the podcast show notes, that will get you a little cheaper copy to give it a try and see what you think. Because the best way to support indie tabletop RPG creators is to buy their stuff. But yeah, so we're coming up to the end of our time here. So I don't know if there's anything we didn't get the chance to talk about with Against the Darkmaster, or anything you'd want to share about the game with people before we end.
Well, we were recently finished basically our latest Kickstarter for Secrets of the Golden Throne, which is our first major supplement for Against the Darkmaster, and it's came out on Drive Through RPG or in PDF. It's currently in queue at the printer, I think, for the offset print, and it will have more options, so you'll get more kings, more cultures, more everything for your character, and you also come with a pretty long campaign which will bring you your character from the first level up to the sky, 10th level actually, because Against the Darkmaster kind of have this 10-11 range, and it should last you for a very for quite a while. So we're poured a lot of love in it. It's sort of weird fairy tale Arthurian inspired campaign and small setting with obviously Darkmaster lurking in the background, and that your character will have to face to save the island of Avalon, which is the place the campaign is set.
Yeah,
fantastic.
We're just waiting on the final proof from the printer, and then it's good to go. We're very close in closing this product, so it can go on shelves and will be available, to whoever ordered on the Kickstarter. And again, we're going to try to have this distributed worldwide too. We're trying.
Perfect. Okay. Well, yeah, I'll keep you following on the websites to get news and updates on that. So that sounds great. Thank you so much both for coming on and sharing Against the Darkmaster with us. Really enjoyed hearing about it and learning more about it.
Yeah.
Before you go, I'd love to get some recommendations on some other tabletop role-playing games that you like playing. If we don't pick Against the Darkmaster, because obviously that would be your top recommendation, and if we don't pick D&D, because the show is called Not D&D, but other than those two, do you have any other games that you would kind of recommend or want to shout out to people?
I recently played and a lot of fun with Dragonbane.
Oh yeah.
I think that is a very good game for like short campaign. So I was surprised, not surprised, but I was positively enjoyed by playing that game. And there was and also we played Mithras too, like that was fun recently. But if I have to pick one, I have Dragonbane.
Dragonbane, nice. I have a copy of Dragonbane, but I've not played it yet, so it's sat on my shelf looking sad. So maybe I'll have to give it a go based on that.
It's beautifully laid out, beautiful artwork. It's a great production.
Well, yeah, Free League is pretty books. So yeah. Max, what about you?
Well, I have to choose, I think, The Bardic Wheel by Ukraine, which is also a great inspiration, was for Against the Darkmaster. And if you love low gritty fantasy with a lot of character development and lots of drama and lots of backstabbing possibly between the character, also that's the game for you. And if you don't like, or if you don't want to play fantasy, want something else, I really recommend Don't Rest Your Head from that studio. It's a pretty cool, very short, horror weird role-playing game. It's a unique dice system, so that would be my 2 recommendations.
Nice. I like those. Thank you very much. We can take a look at them. Well, I think that's all for this week. So I again will say thank you so much for coming on and sharing the game with us. Thank you. Of course. Thank you so much to everyone who watched and listened. We'll be back again next week, next Monday. Next Monday, we have the guest talking about Lethe, which is a game where you get a blank character sheet. Your character wakes up with no memory who they are, and the game is exploring and learning who you are and deciding if who you were is who you want to be in the future. So slightly different vibe, but we'll be here same time, same place next week. So we'll hope to see you then. But thanks very much. Bye.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Bye. Bye-bye.